Hi, everybody. I think it's so amazing to come to a seminar, don't you? You meet all the right people who say all the right things to you that you need to hear at the exact right time. So I was impressed, as always, with how the Eck orchestrates everything. And on Friday night, the opening speaker, that young man, told this story about giving love, his mother giving love. And of course, my talk is about my mother giving love. So Sri Harold writes in The Burning Love of God, sometimes the most precious gift you can give another is as simple as passing along a gift of love. My mother was always looking for this opportunity to give love. She was a giver. Now, when I was 8, my family moved from this small town at that time of Sacramento, California, in Northern California, to the huge, sprawling metropolis of Los Angeles. Now, in Sacramento, there were enough kids on my block that we could have 2 teams of baseball, and we played every single night in the summer. And when you lived in Sacramento, when you moved into the neighborhood, all the neighbors would come, and they would bring you like a gift of baskets and a gift of fun experiences, and they would bring all their family members to meet you. And it was such an amazing thing. So, of course, when my brother and sister and I are in LA, we're thinking, all right, I wonder who's going to come to the door, who will we meet? And will the kids be our age? And will they be our new friends? And so, day 2, we're waiting with great anticipation. Nobody comes. Day 3, great anticipation. We just moved in, it's okay. Nobody comes. When we get to the end of the week, we're a little depressed. And at the beginning of week 2, my mother's like, we're going to take this into our own hands. So she has us cook these cookies and make these baskets, and much to the mortification of my teenage sister, brother, and I didn't know myself, we take these baskets door to door to meet our neighbors. My mother was always finding a way to give love. In the first year we lived there, she discovered that there wasn't a preschool for young mothers. And she had come from a single-parent family. Her father had been killed in a hunting accident in upper Minnesota when she was 7. So she knew the struggle of a single mother. So she set up the first Head Start program in LA. Then, when they didn't have enough substitute teachers, she volunteered to teach class, and they eventually hired her. And then, when the hospital needed money, she formed a home tour and raised money for the hospital year after year until she finally just started working in the gift center. Now, when I was 12, my grandmother, her mother, got very sick with cancer. And so we drove from LA to Sacramento because she was in the hospital. And before we went in the door, my mother said to me, Patty, it could be the last time you see your grandmother, so be sure to tell her you love her. And so I go there next to her bed, and she pulls me close, and she says to me, wow, what beautiful blue earrings you have on. I didn't have earrings on. And later, I knew this was the blue light of Eck around my head. So we drive home, and of course, the next night, my grandmother translates, or dies. We say translation in Eck. And I was so sad. My grandmother was really like a rock for me when I was growing up because I didn't really fit into LA. It was different. They didn't play baseball on the street, so I wasn't sure how to act. But when she would come to town, we'd play cards for hours, and she would remind me, it's okay, you'll find your way. So when I went to bed that night with the loss of my grandmother, I just wanted her to know how much I loved her. And then this light appeared in my room, and it was my grandmother. And she told me, it's going to be okay. I'm okay. It'll all work out. And then she was gone. And so the next morning I went and found my parents and I told them, and my father said, I saw her too. And then my mother said to me, Patty, some people believe in reincarnation, that soul lives on and takes on a body. Reincarnation, I'm thinking, are you kidding? They never talked about this in the Episcopal Church. And so my mother encouraged me to go to the library and get books and read about it, find out about it. So I did. And I went to church after church in those early years. And then in high school, I said to my mom, I'm never going to find what's right for me. And she said, don't worry. There's a path for everyone. You'll find yours. And sure enough, when I was 25, I saw a bumper sticker on somebody's car that said Eckankar, Ancient Science. And I thought, what is Eckankar? And I found my path. And the first person I called to tell was my mother, of course. And then that year, when I went to see them in LA, I taught them both how to sing the cue. And I took them to see Sri Harold because he was speaking in Los Angeles that year. And my father was quite the traditionalist. So they never left the Episcopal Church, but my mother always wanted to know about the spiritual lessons I was learning. Now, later in their life, my father got Parkinson's, and my mother, lover that she was, took care of him diligently until she herself got sick one year. She actually had been sick with cancer before, but my mother was the type of person that was very private about that. She didn't want to burden us with her illness, so we never knew. But she called me to say, Patty, my cancer's come back. Come back, I thought. But then she got very excited, and she said, and guess what? My doctor's name is Dr. Hugh. Now, about 6 months later, my mother found that she couldn't get out of bed. And what she did was, she asked my sister to call all of us and bring us to Los Angeles. And so from all across the United States, we flew in to see my mother, and we stood around her hospital bed. My nieces and nephews, my siblings, and their partners, and my mother, one at a time, said goodbye to us and told us something that she loved about us. And when she got all the way around the circle, she said, okay, I'm ready. And my brother and I, we just cracked up. It was just like my mother to think she could control every single moment. And when she realized it wasn't going to happen on her time frame, she sent us all home. She's like, I got to deal with this. Now go. And later that night, she slipped into a coma. And the next morning, my family went to see her at the hospital. But Julie, who would later become my wife, happened to be flying through Los Angeles at that moment. And she had a brief layover. And so I went down and picked her up and brought her back to the house. And when my family came back for lunch, they got to meet her, my father, my siblings, their families. It was magnificent. And then it was time for her to go back. And on my way back, I got this inner nudge. Go to the hospital. The Mahanta was telling me, and so I did. And I walk into my mother's hospital room, and despite her being in a coma, the nurse had lovingly washed her face and brushed her hair. And she said to me, "She is so beautiful." And I sat down, and I took my mom's hand, and I said to her, "Okay, Mom, there's nobody here but me right now. So if you want to go without any drama, now's the time." And then I got a nudge from the Mahanta to sing the hue. So I asked my mom, "Do you want me to sing the hue?" And she blinked her eyes. And so I gently began to sing the hue. And as I did, the nurse came into the room and said, "It's not long now. Have you told your family?" And I said, "Of course." And I kept singing hue. And then I closed my eyes for a second. And on my inner screen, I could see her sisters, her mother, her father, these Buddhist monks. And there, despite her not being an Eckist, was the Mahanta. And I just started to laugh. Oh my God, Mom, what a crowd. And then she sat up, opened her eyes, and gave me this big blast of love. And then she sank back and left her body to meet her friends. I laughed and cried. What a powerful gift she had given me. And that gift of love stays with me today. When I feel lost or I'm wondering what's happening in this earth world, I feel this love, this gift of love from my mother. And I feel the Mahanta's presence, reminding me the Ek is everywhere. I am love. We are love. One of the things Sri Harold said to us was, just feel the nudge and make that connection so the Mahanta can do his work. And so I will. And so you will. We are love. Love is all. Thank you.